So,
well done. No worries, no rush here.
So, first podcast ever, Dragon Voice. Dragon Voice. It sounds very ironic because I got the first ever episode, and you're with me, and you're basically the voice of Welsh football. I mean, everyone at Barrytown Football Club, because you know me and most of the guys at we love you, and you're doing your work fantastic. Well, I bet every single Welsh club in the Cymru Premier, as it's now called, they just love you for what you're doing and trying to get Welsh football out there. So,
not sure about that, but yeah, very kind.
So, let's just get down to the gist. So the whole point of the Dragon Voice podcast is not just going to be about, Welsh football in general. It could be about anything, and the whole point of it is trying to get Welsh football out there, not just Cymru Premier, not just the leagues below, but Welsh football, the likes of, when you get John Hatton and Malcolm Allen, all them lot, coming on, just talking about their days, even if it's for half an hour, 20 minutes, or even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Being the first. No worries. Pleasure, absolute pleasure. When I was trying to be a reporter years ago, there was no outlets, there was no podcasts, I don't know. You're either on radio or telly, that was it. You didn't have a choice otherwise. So these days, it's just brilliant what people get up to these days.
So I'll just start off with the first. It sounds like a cliche when it comes to interviews because the normal cliche questions is, how did you start? Where did you get into broadcasting? So tell us your story. Where was your how did you get into becoming the voice of Welsh football you are known today then?
First of all, there's cliches are there for a reason because a lot of cliches are good. People use them all the time because it's a good place to start. So never be afraid of cliches. Maybe if you're commentating, they can get a bit boring, but it's never a bad place. I got a weird way into all this. I always loved football, but as a fan, and never thought of even working in the field of football. I left college after a year because I hated it. I went through school in Aberystwyth, coasted through school, got to college in Cardiff, didn't really like it after a week. I don't know why. I just thought it was going to be my idea of what college was going to be. It was very different to what it actually was. I thought I was going to be reading books of poetry in cafes with sunglasses on, like in Paris, with smoking cigarettes and talking to girls. Ended up actually having to do some work, which wasn't a good idea. So I left college. I started working for TV companies, Welsh language TV companies, as a runner. And it was hard work, 6 days a week, long hours, but you're earning good money. And when you're like 19, 20, it was very, very appealing. After a few years of that, it started getting when I wanted something more solid. You were going from short-term contracts, like a month, 2 months. I think 4 months was the longest job I had in a row. But it was constant and it was still good. But then I applied for a job at BBC Wales, basically. There was an advert to do sport bulletins in Welsh on Radio Cymru. And I applied for the job. I didn't actually get it. Somebody else got it. But they phoned me up and said, "Oh, we need somebody else over the summer. Do you fancy coming in for like 6 weeks?" And that's what I did. And I was there for like 12 years and then got a job with Scorio. It sounds bizarre and it probably wouldn't happen these days. No. But it's simple as that.
Well, it sounds bizarre because knowing me, I've come out of university now. I've got a BA and a MA. I've got a BA in script writing and an MA in drama. So you know where that's going down. So and I applied for loads of jobs, but it's like you said, you have to be lucky sometimes just to get into these fields and positions and everything. But it will come all in good time, as they say. And another thing I wanted to talk about, because obviously you started in the BBC. I've listened to a lot of commentating where I think it was your voice. And I'm thinking that can't be Dylan, because I'm used to hearing you speaking in Welsh, but obviously in the first stages, I'm thinking, is that Dylan? No, that can't be Dylan. That's Dylan. I was absolutely happy, over the moon by it. But you must have. How did the commentating come to fruition then?
I'm still not sure, because I did a bit of everything. I was reporting mainly, and then presenting a lot on radio, and then sort of drifted into commentary. Didn't get that many opportunities, to be honest, as a full-on commentator while I was at the BBC. It was a funny place. It was a great place, but it had its limits in other regards where they'd kind of pigeonhole you. They'd decide that, right, he's the guy that does Welsh language radio reporting and presenting. He's not really a commentator. And even though he can speak English, they wouldn't think of sticking you on Radio Wales. It was very weird. So I drifted into it. I started the proper football commentary started when I got a job at Sgorio. They offered me a job, and I turned up to have a chat with the boss. Really, really excited because I love Sgorio. And I thought he was going to offer me a job as a presenter. And then he said, "We want you to do some items, but we see you as a main commentator." I was kind of gobsmacked. But
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do whatever you want."
Yeah, no problem. That's fine. It's fine.
Absolutely, absolutely. But first of all, interesting, because my first trip to Jenner Park probably was when I started as a young reporter. Wales on Saturday was still on the air, which is like Final Score, Soccer Saturday these days. It would start at 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. It was a results service on BBC Wales. And they'd show the League of Wales as it was then, games from that afternoon. But of course, you had to rush from Jenner Park with the tapes, get it ready for like 5 o'clock, which was mental. And people would leave at half time. Somebody else would leave 20 minutes into the second half. At that time, Barry were like 6-0 up by that point. So it was okay. But then,
as the story would go.
So I learned quickly you had to do it live. So I wasn't commentating, but I was sort of doing the reports live on BBC Wales, knowing a lot of people are watching. So that was doing stuff live was the way I kind of got into it. And you'd make lots of mistakes, but you soon learn just not to worry too much about them.
But I always wanted to talk about, because with the BBC now, obviously the work you're doing with Sgorio, along with Malcolm Allen, John Hartson, Owain and everyone, it's always showing a lot of gratitude. That's why a lot of football clubs in Wales that cover domestic Welsh football, they show a lot of appreciation for Sgorio. But I've always got into hefty debates. I mean, sometimes I expect just to go, oh yeah, there's this and that, and then all of a sudden it just gets really tense, because the tense arguments would go into, I would say, how would people feel if the BBC Wales just cover a little bit more of Welsh domestic football, not trying to demean Sgorio, because Sgorio is going to be the platform for S4C. And I always try to tell people, I've always said, all right, they're covering Cardiff, Swansea, the big Welsh clubs, as they say, but you got a lot of football clubs that are not far from Cardiff, Swansea, and they put on some great, tremendous football. Even if it's for one match per month, the BBC Wales should do it. How do you, in your opinion, approach that in some ways? Do you think the BBC Wales should just say, right, we can cover Welsh football once per month or even twice per month, but how would you, in your opinion, describe that without covering, Welsh football in general?
I can't believe they don't, to be honest with you, Rhys. It's always baffled me. When I worked there, it was frustrating because it's our league, it's our domestic game, and I know they see viewers, they've got outside pressures that we don't know about, and they need to get the hits, and they need to get all this with Cardiff, Swansea. It's easy with Cardiff and Swansea, you know what's going to happen. Newport, I've noticed, excuse me, get slightly less attention, and Wrexham, once they dropped out of the league, you could see, when I was there, there was those four. Merthyr would probably get more attention than the League of Wales at times, because there's a lot of people there that are really, really positive. But I'm amazed that they don't do more. I'm amazed there isn't an English language Sgorio, because it's there. It's on a plate. It's so easy. And the what's the words? The appetite is there out there amongst the fans as well. And I don't know why. It's something with the hierarchy in the BBC. And I don't have a go at the BBC because I loved my time there. But an example for you, when I worked there, they lost a rugby contract. Big rugby contract. It was doom and gloom. So they turned their attention to football. And for a few years, the Premier Cup was born, that competition. So you remember, well, maybe not. I judge age these days, and I can't remember who remembers what, if you know what I mean. But they put a bit of money into the Premier Cup, where Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham were suddenly playing against the Welsh Prem teams and Merthyr, and it was great. Not the day the rugby contract came back, but within a few months of the rugby contract coming back, it went, and they just went back to rugby. And I don't know, it's weird. I'm glad they don't, because it means I've got a job with Sgorio, and Sgorio carries on. No, I know exactly. But I'm like you, I'm amazed. It's there. The stories, the domestic league, the stories that are out there, just not even in the Welsh Prem, below the Welsh Prem. It's glorious. There's some just beautiful stories, and I know Lee Trundle gets a lot of attention, but my God, he deserves it, and it's mad.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe, as I say, I can't believe they don't do it, but it's always baffled me, to be honest.
Yeah. Because with Cardiff, Swansea, and Newport and Wrexham, we always get that, and like again a cliche debate, where tension rises, animosity rises because with Welsh League fans, and then you got Welsh clubs who are playing in English League. There's to this day the situation heads colliding, saying, well, Cardiff Swansea should be coming back into Welsh League, but Cardiff Swansea can't because it'll it's that back and forth. And I don't want to sound, because I know my views about it. I know my opinions. I know you have your opinions, but we don't want to, upset Cardiff Swansea, especially I've got this podcast coming on and I want, a lot of people to come in and your audience. But in your opinion, do you think instead of, if Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham, Newport or Merthyr, they don't want to take part or be part of Welsh football or domestic football, do you think there should be some investment where Cardiff, Swansea, or them lot can just go, right, we don't want to be in it, but we want what's best for that league, so we'll help out as much as we can? It doesn't need to be financial, but it could be, players, because I know Barry have had a few players from Cardiff, Swansea, just to try and help them and promote Welsh League football by, galvanise them, saying, right, we're big enough just to go, right, we'll get you in that spotlight. Do you think that could be an opportunity to get to that point, or do you think, no, it won't happen?
I don't know. I don't like to say it won't happen. Historically, if we could start from scratch, it'd be amazing. What a league we'd have if it was all just in Wales. But while most leagues were starting in, 18 something or 19 something, we had to wait till 1992, didn't we? It'd be great if they could do something, and it is really good to see the clubs like Cardiff and Swansea trusting the Welsh Prem more with loaning out their youngsters, and that's really good. Maybe that'd be a good place to start. There was talk of playing development teams. I'm not sure about that, but it'd be good. Again, anything would help. I don't know what to say about Merthyr. I honestly don't know where to begin. Why they're not in the Welsh Prem, I have no idea. Hopefully, I know, and I get stick from Merthyr fans as well, and they're happy where they are, and it's fine. But frankly, they're going nowhere, and the opportunity in the Welsh system to get to Europe and build a club. What's been interesting this season is seeing Colwyn Bay, because I never thought they'd be coming into the Welsh system, and they did, and they loved it, and they did lose some fans, but they gained more. And I'm sure, Cardiff and Swansea, it's not going to happen. But if there's something they could do, and Newport by now, but if there's something to build bridges, I've always thought the Welsh Cup is a good idea, but then they'd want the European spot. Again, that's not going to happen. Why should they get it if they don't want to be in the Welsh system? I think Wrexham is an interesting case study.
Malcolm has always been outspoken. I mean, I've seen the coverages where you and Malcolm on Scoria have just been, supportive, and then you got Wrexham supporters coming on. I'm sat there and I'm a bit mixed by Wrexham because I want what's best for Wrexham. I got a soft spot for Wrexham because I just like him, especially the bootleg,
captain,
captain, and. But it is a very difficult topic. It's like with Wrexham, because, it's what's best. You've been in the conference for over a decade now. Yeah. You've had so many trust with owners. Where are you going to stand, because you're not going to go anywhere, or you're not going to...
I still think they're so close to being back in the league, even if they have been pushing in different seasons, but they're still that one step away from the league, I guess. A lot of fans have told me if they went down, because they flirted with relegation, haven't they? Then I think they'd have a few questions to ask. But they're still getting amazing crowds, and they're a great team. So they're a funny one. Newport. There was a time when I thought Newport could have joined in, but there we are. But as I say, I'll never understand Merthyr, but Merthyr are a great club. Their fans are brilliant. I don't get it.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that have fought to save that club. So it's their opinion and whatever. But if I was in the Welsh FA, and maybe it does happen, I'd be doing everything I could to get them back into the Welsh system. Not give them what they want, like Colwyn Bay, but you'd kind of go, you don't need to start from the bottom, just come on, come and join us.
Yeah, just come and just like, look, they are good things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want to go into so much about Merthyr because I think that'll be another.
Yeah, it's just an
You know,
example, isn't it? Yeah.
I think I'm gonna, because one of the ideas I've got is having a Welsh League fan and then a Merthyr Town fan come together. But that's just plan.
Like it.
Plans for the future. But the whole point is, I do like Merthyr, but at the same time, it's like a love hate with a lot of Welsh League fans or even Barry fans, and especially because with Barry Town Football Club, they sort of understand the club's point of view. They understand where Merthyr are coming from because we were in the same boat in the early 1990s. But we thought, well, it's not going to be worth it because we're going to go nowhere. So that's why, as they say, the rest is history, because we weren't had that success, the glory success. But it's like with Merthyr, we've always tried to say it'll be good for you. And they're saying, well, it won't be good. And that's where I think the build intention goes, is saying, well, you're wrong. And it just, it goes nowhere.
Yeah, I don't agree about them either. But I just, you go to Penydaren, they're a great club. Great fans. I love the town. It's a great place. I get it. I totally get it. I wish if you could have a try before you buy option. Maybe just come on. It's fun. Honestly, it'd be good. You love it eventually.
It's fine. It's fine.
Can you imagine Merthyr against Carnarvon and Merthyr against Barry? Oh my God, it'd be brilliant. There we are.
That'll be the best. The best days of watching football. I think one of the top 5 games I've ever watched was Barry v Merthyr when he first came back to the Welsh Cup, and Barry went up to Penydaren and we beat him 3-0. But like I say, that's one of the. It's out of our depth. It's down to Merthyr Town. It's down to the FAW in that case. So. But let's talk about more from your perspective, because very quickly, I want to know this before I move on to proper Welsh football stuff. But I've always, whenever the South Wales derby comes on with Cardiff and Swansea, they always show the cover, A Tale of Two Cities. Did you know?
Did I what? Sorry, you cut up there.
Did you do that A Tale of Two Cities coverage?
Yeah. My mate still works in the BBC. He's one of the main producers there. He's one of my best mates, and he asked me to. I like to mess about with words and scripts. I used to write a lot of poetry as a kid, with the Eisteddfods and all that. And he knows this. And he said, "Can you?" It was further. They hadn't played for years and years and years. So this is going back a while now. And he said, "Oh, can you put something together?" And it was one of those where it happened. The whole script came together, and then the editor Dan that put the pictures to it. It comes alive. I'm very proud. I'm proud of the words. I know it's just great. It just works. I'm proud of the words, but the pictures as well. It was just one of those. It's brilliant. I know people still do it. I get stuff. Guys at Scorio go, "Oh, do you know that thing you did, Cardiff for Swansea? Can you do one of those for like?" I don't know, Barry and Met. I'm right. Well, I could.
See, if they were saying Barry and Met, I would probably turn around and said, "Oh no," because the even though the rivalry of Barry and Cardiff Met,
I just think it's not local teams. No, I know.
You got to think of Barry or Carnarvon because the similarities of supportership, club run, and everything, or even Barry and.
Because we were poised when Carnarvon came back into the league. We were probably poised to try and do something similar, and then fan going out of the league. So we'll get there eventually.
That is absolutely mad. So let's talk about where you called a lot of matches in your time. Then a lot of people would normally say, what's the best matches or what's the worst matches you ever do and everything. But I really want to know what's the most underrated matches you ever called where it should have. It should have gotten some recognition properly, or it was that good, but it wasn't appreciated as much. Can you recall any underrated match that should have gotten more attention than it should have received?
It's a really good question. I don't know. That's a tough one. No one's ever asked that one. It's a really good question. Oh my God, I don't know. There's some thing is a lot of them don't get the attention they deserve when you think about it. Really, we Scotia give them a lot of attention, but outside of our little bubble, maybe they don't know. So as a cop out, you could say a lot of them. I've just been to some games where you come away buzzing at what you've seen. They're so exciting. I'm trying to avoid to give you a definitive answer here because I can't think of one. But they're just games you've left, goals. I remember Lee Beattie Prestatyn and he scored that unbelievable scissor kick, and you walk out going, I can't believe what I've just seen. The games I've seen some games at Aberystwyth. I'm from Aberystwyth. Nobody knows how to defend, but it's 4-3, and The game I always go back to, but that's the best game, not the underrated game, is when Bangor won the league against TNS on that final game. But as an underrated game, I'm just rubbish at remembering them, to be honest. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's no problem at all. So, do you know what? I'm glad you mentioned Bangor City winning the league, because yesterday we've had some big news, and for people who are going to be talking about this, if they watch this video in a few months to come, they probably won't know what we're talking about, because they're thinking, oh, what date's this and everything. But yesterday, the FAW announced the game changer, where they said, right, we're stopping the league. Connah's Quay are champions. I thought, wow, it was a breath of fresh air. But at the same time, you've got now TNS, Bala, and Barry qualifying for the Europa League. Now, there was a bit of, I'm not saying confusion, but there's a lot of questions that need to be answered now in terms of, right, where is the tournament going to be held? Is it going to be held in 5 weeks? Is it going to be held in October or September time? Because from what I've gathered, because I did some research, because I want to go. I want to go and see my team in Europe, just like any other supporter with their teams in Europe. But I've had a look around, and the only positive I'm getting is that the UEFA are rescheduling their tournament so that at a later date. In your opinion, do you see anything coming to fruition? Do you see the Europa League starting at a later date, or do you just see it where, right, you just carry on the games, but there's no fans at all?
Yeah, you know what? It's bizarre. I honestly have no idea. Everybody, because we get a lot of questions, and my producer in Scorio, he gets asked a lot of questions to try and plan ahead, and he's come to the conclusion there's no point. There's no point putting in plan A, B, C, D, E, because everything's changed so much. So the honest answer is I have no idea at the minute. Hopefully, obviously, they could. I don't see why they can't knock things back a bit and then start later. My worry is that what they'll do is, I don't know worry Welsh clubs, that as the dates for the preliminary rounds goes, they'll just knock it off and rejoin the competition at a later date. So they might get rid of the preliminary rounds. Yeah, I have no knowledge at all of what they're planning, but it's just mad. The situation is so crazy. It's impossible to predict at the minute, because we've been predicting the Welsh Prem. I thought the Welsh Cup was going to be played, to be honest, and then yesterday that took me by surprise. I thought they were going to, and I think they tried. They were hoping to play the Welsh Cup, but just it got to the stage because they had to nominate teams for Europe, basically. And, well, they decided whatever happened. At one point, I think they were going to try and play the semi-finals and then thought, we can't do it. It's not safe. It's financially, whatever.
I honestly do feel bad for Carnarvon, because a lot of my mates, I mean, it's mad to start with me talking about Barry, but the thing is, that's with Welsh football. You got to talk about teams, you're supporting that. But I felt bad for Carnarvon, because they were really wanting that Welsh Cup glory, and it seems to me that the FAW, and I don't want to slander them, because hopefully if this podcast becomes really successful, I love to do business work with them, but it seems to be wink wink. But but it seems to me, I feel bad for them, because it feels like they've just been cheated out of it, where they just the rug had just come out of under their feet, and and we took their spot. But for the audience, because I'm not very good at explaining things, but maybe you can explain just a little. So for the people who are watching this, how did this decision came to fruition, where it's just going to be those 3 teams qualifying for Europe that finish in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, instead of a Welsh Cup, a team that's finishing in the final stage of the Welsh Cup? Can you explain it a bit more in detail, or?
Yeah, I think I've been looking at it, and so basically, once they stopped the season, they had a decision to make. Are they going to try and play the playoffs? Are they going to try and play the Welsh Cup? So champions go in the Champions League. Connah's Quay, what a story. TNS, the new Saints, go in a 2nd place. So then they had to decide, are they going to play the playoffs? No. Therefore, the 3rd place team got that spot. So Bala went in to the playoffs. And then with the Welsh Cup, what were they going to do? They had to tell UEFA what their plan was by the 25th of May. So that was the first issue. So they decided to tell who was going to play in Europe. Now, if they'd kept the Welsh Cup option open, they'd have had to decide that on sporting grounds by the 20th of July. So they'd have had to play it. They couldn't have just picked a team. So they basically decided, we can't do it. We can't play the Welsh Cup right now. And therefore, I think the next step was quite easy. Who's going to get it? Or are you going to go 4th? That's once you get to that stage, I think fourth place is the only option you have, because there's no point looking at the Welsh Cup and trying to come to any other conclusion. It's tough on Carnarvon. Met as well, because they had that 7th spot sewn up because Druids weren't getting European licence. So Met and Carnarvon have missed out twice, really. They had a chance in the Cup, they had a chance through the playoffs. They were playing each other in the Cup. Who's to say what would have happened? But yeah, I'd feel sorry for them. But once, I think there was a process with the FAW, and once one thing happens, it was dominoes then. This has to happen, this has to happen. So it's very, very harsh. But then it's like we're in the middle of a pandemic, so it's not like it's happened. But
what can you do?
I know that's where they are, I think. And I think it's it's the best option under the circumstances, if that's the way of putting it.
I completely
I think they're trying to play the Welsh Cup, and I think they are hoping to play it before the start of next season. But obviously, there'll be no European spot for the winners, which is it's still an honour to win the Welsh Cup. But Europe means a lot of money, doesn't it? At this level,
there's a lot of football teams, especially with the structure of the Welsh Premier League or the Cymru Premier. There's a lot of requirements when it comes to football clubs and everything, especially because of the licensing of UEFA licensing and everything. Money does mean a lot to these Welsh clubs, especially because I've spoken to a few clubs. It's like sometimes Bala, Cefn Druids, Cardiff Met, some of the other clubs like Carnarvon. They sometimes will they may have a local businessman who's got money to come in and splash a bit of cash, but then they need football money to keep going. Basically, and that's what happened to Barry. When the money dries up, the only way is down, and we faced our consequences, but we redeemed, we galvanized, and we came back. But Carnarvon did the same. There's a lot of football clubs out there that have gone through the same. I don't want to put Bangor in that position, only because the people who are running Bangor, I've got no sympathy whatsoever. Who run them at the time, which was, I won't say names, but it was a family, and they got no sympathy for me whatsoever. And a lot of Bangor City fans, we've always kept in contact with them, and they're just good as gold, and even though some of the chants, we all hate Bangor, I think it's just it's turned into a bit of banter then. It's like, I
agree with you. They're a great club. It's horrible what's happened there. I was speaking to Les Davis the other day. We're showing some of the old games. We were showing the day they won the league, and he's gutted. He's plays for Bangor 1876. He's a Bangor boy. He loves the club. And so he sees the new Bangor as Bangor in a way, even though the old one is still around. It's a strange scenario.
It's weird because I'm looking at Bangor City, and the only thing that's Welsh about it is the name now. Because I don't want to be sounding like a prejudice or anything, but I'm looking at the team, and a high percentage of the teams, the players that are playing for Bangor, are either Argentinian or Italian, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some great football comes from Italy and Argentina, but it's wow, because a lot of Welsh football you got to produce.
Yeah. No, it's right. I'm gonna use a quote off Ozark here, without incriminating myself. I love the series. I don't know if you've seen it. The last series, one of the characters says, "If something seems off, it's probably off," and that's all he says. And that's all I'm gonna say on the match.
Well, that's what we're gonna say about that. Well, Speaking of European football, though, what's happened with Scorio covering European football? It's because it used to be a big part.
Yeah. Well, it's Scorio was celebrating 30 years last year, and we did a program for SLC looking back, and it's mental. The difference. I came in. It's funny. There's Scorio seems to be two parts for Scorio. The early years, which a lot of people see as the glory years, where they were doing Spanish football. Scorio started when Ian Rush went to Juventus and Mark Hughes went to Spain. So they pitched for an idea to cover European football. Of course, they both returned within a year. So Scorio was still there. But Toshak was out in Real Madrid, and the stuff you see now, the access they had is incredible. They're talking to Johan Cruyff on the side of a pitch in the Nou Camp, Louis van Gaal and all these. It's incredible. And I think just times changed, The football suddenly became this mad carnival that it is. The guys I know who used to go said they were in the minority. There were local Spanish press there. There weren't many foreign press. They got loads of access, and suddenly it all changed, and the money was coming in, and they just got squeezed out, to be honest. At one time, Scorio was the only place to see European football on a Monday night. by the time the European football finished, you'd probably seen it live on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before Scorio turned round, and then they turned their attention towards the domestic game, which is when I joined in, and I think they suddenly realised what was on their doorstep. And I wasn't as massive as the now camp. Well, you can't compete with that, but there's other ways, isn't there? It's just there's still, as I said earlier, the stories, the characters, the games. It's just it's different, but it's just equally it's as entertaining.
Right. I think this is another cliche question, and I know you said there's nothing more
I've
cliche.
asked millions in my time. Don't worry about it.
Who is the best guest or guest you've ever interviewed? It could be a footballer or it could be a manager. Who was the best person you've ever interviewed, apart from John Harton and Malcolm Allen?
Yeah, well, that is a good question. Blimey. I'm trying to think. The best. I interviewed John Charles years ago. So I know, I don't think I can. And it was a weird time. John Charles was forgotten for a while in a way. And then I know, but I know there was a time, and then he'd been he was still alive, and people forgot about him. And then suddenly, I think it was I know.
Yeah, it's like me. I'm nearly 24. I'm nearly 24 years old. But even then, when I was 8 or 9 years old, when I was not a big fan of football, I knew who John Charles was. He was this big, larger-than-life Welshman from County who went off to chase for the stars, reach for the stars, and play for Juventus. How can anyone forget that?
I know, but there was a time when he was just he's retired. He's such a nice guy, and then I interviewed him. As names go, he's up there. I interviewed Mike England recently. Absolutely amazing. Another one, great Welsh manager. And again, people tend to forget. And then they see the interview, they go, "Oh, blimey, it's great to hear these guys." I've interviewed the big names in Welsh football, but it's just occurred to me one of the nicest interviews I ever had was Robert Earnshaw, and we spoke for like half an hour. And I can't remember. We were abroad somewhere. Wales were playing for some reason. I think it's Denmark. I don't know where. But he just sat down with us and he gave this interview, and it suddenly turned into why he loved playing football and just scoring goals and the smile on his face, and it was amazing. It was just one of those where you sat there for half an hour going, "This is just incredible." And it's just occurred to me, it's one of the nicest interviews I've ever done. Was just Ernie talking about his love for football. I loved watching him play as well, so that's a good start. But sometimes, the big names, you get them for like 2 minutes, or if you get Bale, you're lucky, but he's there for like 5 minutes before a game, and they're good as gold. It's just the Welsh guys are so nice, and they're so happy to speak to you. Sometimes they don't want to, and I understand. They must have to speak to millions of people. But yeah, I just remember this chat with Earnshaw. I wish I could remember where I was. Got a feeling it was in Denmark. Anyway, it was just a lovely, lovely interview where you suddenly got this player just talking like a kid about how much he loved playing football. It was just so refreshing.
Do you know what? One day I'd love to get in contact with Robert Earnshaw and just be like, right, let's just have a half an hour of your time. Just sit down and just talk about the world if you have to. I mean, it doesn't have to be...
I've interviewed Bellamy a few times as well, and you're on edge because he's an intense guy, but I love him. He's just competitor, and he's very determined.
I met him. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there. As a fan, and I've met Craig Bellamy a few times, not just as a fan, but as just an individual as well. And he's always come off as a nice guy, no matter what the controversy is or anything. I remember the last time I met him, all I wanted to do, I just went up to him and I said, "Oh, how are you?" and everything. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm good," and everything. And I thought he was expecting, so he kept reaching for his pocket to think, "Oh, I was going to ask for his autograph or anything." But no, and then we carried on. It was only for a brief 5 or 10 minutes. And then I just went, "Oh, see you, Craig," because I've already had his autograph anyway years ago. And I just went, "I'll take it." And he went, "You know what? Fair play to you. That's one of the top conversations I've had."
Yeah, he knows his stuff, and he doesn't, it's another cliche, suffer fools, but he kind of suss you out, and if he sees that you've just turned up without thinking about the chat or thinking about the interview and you just want to quote off him, he doesn't want to know. But then if he sees that you've made an effort, not that he's not testing you, he's trying to suss you out, and within in a few minutes you can see him warming into it, and why not? Fair enough. You should
be professional.
Yeah, I thought he wants to win. My God, he's a very determined guy. I've heard horror stories about him as well, but speak as you find, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's that's fair enough, But I think one of the getting down to a couple of last few questions now, Fleming, actually, time does fly when you're having fun.
No, it is. No, it is.
But with Scorio now, obviously you've done 30 years or so. Is there any plans for bigger, better coverages? In terms of maybe we could cover a bit more on Cardiff Swansea, or get back into trying to push for European football, because I am going to go get into it because of Wales and how they just refreshing themselves because of the likes of Gary Speed, Chris Coleman, and maybe Ryan Giggs coming in and just changing the face of Welsh football. Where do you see Scorio in, let's just say, in 10 years' time then?
Well, the way things are going with S4C and stuff, it's the budgets are shrinking so much. So I think, and this has nothing to do with me because I just stand there at the microphone, the way the guys put Scorio on air and the way it looks, the way that the money they get, when you see Sky, it's incredible, the difference in budgets and stuff. So to do what they do on the money that they have to use is just an achievement in itself. And European football, it's gone. It's like unless somebody wants to be very kind. What's amazing is the people of S4C have built up relationships with TV companies where we still show Wales games live, and I pinch myself. And we did the Euros live on S4C, and that's because the people there. It's not about money, because S4C haven't got money to throw around. It's about having good people in the right positions who can negotiate deals, and they can. The fact that it's a Welsh language show as well helps, because we're not seen as a threat. So
No.
They picked some up. I still can't believe we do Wales games live. It's just a privilege to be there. But with Scorio, I know Scorio would love to have the budget to offer a red button service where every Welsh Prem game is live every weekend. The technology is getting better, where suddenly our online stuff's changed so much in the last few years, where we now, someone scores a goal on a Friday night in Cefn Druids, within 10 minutes, if we're on air, we can show the goal. So even stuff like that has changed dramatically. I personally, in 5 years, I'd love to be able to, if we're doing a live game on a Friday night, I'd love to be able to have a live link up with another game, and we're going over live to Jenner Park, where there's a goal just got in. We've got a reporter stood there showing us that goal. We're not quite there yet, but the way technology's going things are getting better, and it's getting cheaper to do that. So it's all blinking bang for your buck at the end of the day, unfortunately. But things are changing quickly technology-wise. So I think enhance what we do in Wales, and it's just rights issues. Then it's incredible, isn't it? But we're just loving what we do at the minute.
No, but of course, because at the end of the day, you and the guys, and the people working behind Scorio, you're the guys who are going to be the one to get Welsh football out there. Even if it's just costing you guys £1 or £100 million or something like that, you will try the very best to get that product in, and letting people know that Carmarthen are out there, Aberystwyth, Barry, Bangor, Carnarvon, Prestatyn, all these clubs, all these great football clubs, are there to provide not just the best football, instead of the likes of Cardiff, Swansea, Newport, and Wrexham. As much as we all like to watch them, So, but it's there, and it's very appreciative, and all other clubs are. I mean, the amount of times I've seen, the stories I've got. I remember. I thought I hit blockbuster at the time, because I remember when Barry played Flint Town in the 2013 Welsh Cup semi-final. I just remember. My mates never let this go, but I never let it go as well. But I remember when we won, and it was it wasn't a semi-final. No, it was the quarterfinals. Sorry, not the semi-finals. And we won. It was like, oh my God, we reached the semi-finals. What an achievement! And my mate Jason just chucks me the Welsh flag and sees. I think you were interviewing Gavin. I'm not too sure, but it was. But Gavin was being interviewed. Went, go run across, and I just run across, jumped on top of him. Yay!
Well, I've got to say, the league it's a great league. I know attendances are an issue, and they will be. I'm sure give it time, it'll get better. But to go to a game where you've got you guys making your noise and jumping up and down and taking your tops off, and I just love going to Bali, and I love turning up somewhere.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dylan. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll find a picture. I'll find a picture. But clubs like Barry, Carnarvon, all the clubs have, they're all making an effort, and that's what's really nice to see. But when you go to Jenner Park and that bloody drums going, it's brilliant. I love it.
That happened as an accident.
Cool.
Well, no, it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, it happened as an accident because normally when because obviously you got the gantry on top of the stand, but we used to bang the wall because it made a heck of a lot of noise.
Yes.
But because we were surrounded, in neighborhood areas and everything, the neighbors, even though they could have been living there for 20, 30 years, when back then, Barry were the biggest team in Wales, they complained to the council, and the council just went to the club and just went, right, if you stop sound polluting the area, as they say it, if you stop banging the walls, and if we catch you in the next 3 months, we're going to fine you a lot of money. And I'm talking, pushing 10 grand. That's what, and we're like,
of course.
No, we're not having this. Don't shut us up. And then we just went, right, chuck us a $5 each. We're getting a drum. We're getting a drum. So, and it went from a small drum to a bigger drum.
It's great. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And that's the thing. It makes such a difference. We're seeing now games behind closed doors, and it's weird. As long as it's football, we'll do whatever we need to do during this time to get games on. But we go to some places and it's quiet. But just any kind of atmosphere makes such a difference. We get it at Jenner Park. We go to the Oval. Loads of places, and it just makes such a difference. It's fantastic.
So, I think we've got about just enough of it now. I think that's the first podcast. I mean, oh my God, how do you feel doing this with me then? Because it is such an honor.
I love it. Oh man, I love it, and I love people like you and your passion for the game. And as I said at the start, I love just people getting on and doing things and doing podcasts and doing. I'm useless at these things, but I know when I was starting, I'd have been going for it as well, because it's so accessible. And it's great, and it's just fun. What's nice is I have to ask questions, so to sit here and just answer them is a joy.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joy. I love it.
It's like, yes.
I don't have to think.
Well, anyway, Dylan, thank you so much for coming on, and especially during these circumstances, because I would have wished, if I had the equipment, the proper podcast equipment, we could have met up, instead of, stuck indoors with the pandemic. But I think it still brings people together because of FaceTime and everything. But again, thank you so much for coming on the Dragon Voice podcast, first ever episode. It does mean a lot.
No worries. Thanks very much. I love the bandana, by the way. Quality.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because I'm growing my hair now. I'm literally growing my hair, so it's all going in ponytails and so you get to see me not just half naked, but long hair now. So.
Fabulous. We get another. I don't know if you're still recording. For the Scorio, the director and Scorio, anytime there's a crowd, they want to look good on the telly, and they're going, "Oh my God!" You can hear the director going, "The tops are off. The tops are off. Get the fans. The tops are off."
Yeah. And now you're going to be looking at thinking, "Oh no, it's Reese again." It's like, "Oh no, it's Reese. Get Reese. Get Reese."
Get Reese. Quality.
But anyway, Dylan, thank you so much for coming on the Dragon Voice podcast. It does mean a lot, and I wish you nothing but the best for Scorio. Keep doing what you're doing, because it's absolutely fantastic work that you're putting on for Wales.
Cheers, man. It's very kind. Very kind.
Thank you very much, and take care, and we'll see you soon.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much.